Dear devotees, welcome to our online Sunday program. We just witnessed Gaura Arti and a bit of a Kirtan. Now we are going to listen to our guest speaker, His Grace Mahabhagavat Prabhu. Mahabhagavat Prabhu and the book distribution is kind of very good. They go together. Prabhu has not revealed any of his material accomplishment. He simply said that he is serving in Toronto temple along with his wife and a nice little boy. Prabhu is very much into book distribution. He is inspired by His Grace Sankar Das Adhikari, from whom he accepted initiation. So he is really into book distribution. So he also does internet preaching, giving counseling, teaching, cooking, and whatever else needed. He will do whatever is needed at the time. On top of all this, he also made a very nice website, dasadas.com. When you have time, please take a look into it. Many nuggets of very relevant information and many inspiring accounts are there. So I will not take too much of time. I'm going to hand it over to His Grace Mahabhagavat Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for kindly accepting our invitation to be with us this evening. Hare Krishna, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Please kindly accept my humble obeisance. Srila Prabhupada. In this gathering today, at least two of my teachers are present. So my request to my teachers, Mother Lakshmi Moni and Guru Prasad Prabhu, and there may be others that I don't know who are online or in the temple room right now. I beg for your blessings that I may say something of value, and I'm begging for your feedback also, which is necessary. So we're going to talk about book distribution, Krishna Consciousness Movement in general, but first we'll start by singing Jai Radha Madhava. Unfortunately, the call and response is not going to work because of it being a Zoom call. I'll just sing it myself, and if you can put yourselves on mute, you can also sing along. Thank you very much. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Ram Sankirtan ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sri Harinam Mahamantra ki jai. Thank you very much for joining the ISKCON Ottawa Sunday Feast program. Only some of you might be able to get the feast, but very soon we'd love to serve you the proper Sunday feast at our temple. My name is Mahabhagavat Das, and I'm begging for your attention today. Your attention is the most valuable thing you can give, and I pray that I can make good use of your attention. Today we're going to talk about serving Krishna's souls, and we're going to focus on book distribution as a backbone of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. All of us here on this program are extremely fortunate. In the entire universe, it's extremely rare to find a connection with a genuine sadhu, with a genuine guru, and with genuine shastra. By genuine shastra, I mean scripture that has not been adulterated or watered down or modified somehow to suit some political purpose or some need of the hour. A sadhu who is purely dedicated to the spreading of the knowledge contained within that scripture, and somebody who lives that scripture themselves, not say one thing and does another thing. And a genuine guru, somebody who is actually kind enough to correct us when necessary. So we are all very fortunate because we are in touch with genuine gurus, genuine sadhus, all of us here in this meeting and in this community, and genuine scripture that we have access to. In the Kali Yuga especially, in the material world generally, but in the Kali Yuga especially, adulterated Shastra is the norm. Fake gurus, fake sadhus, people who will take away your money but not your anxiety. That's the norm in the material world, especially in the Kali Yuga. And we all know, having tried various things, that material success in the material world is quite difficult. It's not easy to achieve. But actually, even though material success in the material world is difficult, simply difficult, spiritual success in the material world is practically impossible. It's an impossible thing. However, we know from our scriptures that anybody who chants this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, such a person has already attained the supreme success, because within this Mahamantra is the seed of supreme spiritual perfection. How is it possible that we are in the material world, but we are chanting Hare Krishna, which actually denotes supreme success? It's just a matter of time. How is it possible? What it means is that we, all of us here, actually have Krishna's mercy. We should feel very fortunate that we have Krishna's mercy. Without Krishna's will, not even a blade of grass can move, leave alone somebody chanting Hare Krishna, rising early for Mangalarti, taking only Krishna Prasad, and things like this, which we are following. It's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. This means that we have Krishna's mercy. But how did we get Krishna's mercy? Someone took the time and trouble. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, came into the material world. Even though he is a gentleman, and the material world is not a fit place for a gentleman. He came here, and he somehow or the other created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness with great difficulty and with extreme sacrifice. And he somehow arranged for all of us to receive this mercy. Note that Krishna's mercy, the Guru's mercy, Srila Prabhupada's mercy is causeless. It's not that I earned it. Nobody can earn this mercy. This mercy is causeless. Because in the material world, everybody has come because they were envious of God. They wanted to have nothing to do with God. They wanted nothing to do with Krishna. And they turned their back away from Krishna and they came here to the material world. But still, Krishna and Guru are so kind that they chase these ungrateful souls, such as myself, into the material world and to try to get them back. Regardless of the circumstances of how we became very fortunate, we have been given so much. We have been given this amazing spiritual tradition. We have been given these instructions. We have been given this association. We have been given this system, these guide rails, these guidelines. Srimati Radharani, who is Krishna's devotion personified, she feels some kind of pain. Even though Srimati Radharani is in the topmost ecstasy and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to the material world to taste her ecstasy, still she feels a certain kind of pain. And she feels that somehow or the other, even though Sri Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and he enjoys unlimitedly with his unlimited associates in the spiritual world, he is missing the association of those souls who have escaped into the material world, who have fallen into the material world. The situation is that each and every single spirit soul, each and every Jivatma is unique. Even more unique than a snowflake. You might find a duplicate snowflake, but you will never find two souls that are exactly identical. The flavor that Krishna gets from each and every individual soul's service, the flavor that he gets from your service, the flavor that he gets from the other devotee's service is completely unique. Nobody can replicate that taste which Krishna gets from that service. And because the souls who are entrapped in the material world, deluded, illusioned, going up and down in the cycle of birth and death, are not giving Krishna their service, Krishna's pleasure is therefore somewhat incomplete. It's infinitesimally incomplete for every infinitesimally small soul who is in the material world. So, Srimati Radharani's mission is to engage every single soul in the service of Sri Krishna. And she arranges this. She goes to great pains. She goes to great lengths to arrange this service just for Krishna's pleasure. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. We all know that. He's in Srimati Radharani's mood. And he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement just to engage every single soul in the service of Sri Krishna. It's not so much really even for Krishna's pleasure, because Krishna, what's a little bit of tolerance for Krishna, who has the supreme of everything? He has everything of everything imaginable. It's actually more for the benefit of the soul, the individual soul, that little spark, which is basically getting put out in the water of the material world. It is for their benefit that the Sankirtan movement has been inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To engage everyone in chanting Hare Krishna is the highest service to Srimati Radharani. It is a most confidential service. And anybody who participates and propagates the Harinam Sankirtan movement is actually in Srimati Radharani's internal mood. There's a lot of talk in the general Hare Krishna community about these internal ecstasies of Srimati Radharani, of the internal ecstasies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We should know from Srila Prabhupada's books and from Srila Prabhupada's instructions that the propagation of the Harinam Sankirtan movement is the single most intimate service that we can render to the divine couple. Why? Because we increase that pleasure that way. What is Sankirtan? What is Sankirtan? Is there some service within the Krishna Consciousness Movement that is not Sankirtan? That's not true. The Pujari attracts the souls. We are seeing the darshan of Shri Nitai Gaura Chandra, Shri Gaurahari, Shri Nitai Ram, who are standing right there in ISKCON Ottawa. And the Pujari is attracting all the souls simply by taking great pains and great care in decorating the Lord's form very attractively, preparing that garland, making the feather just so. The cook attracts the souls by cooking delicious foodstuffs for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. And when Sri Gaurahari and Sri Nitaram taste these offerings, and then these foodstuffs are distributed among the souls, those souls are attracted to the mercy of Sri Krishna. They are attracted and their journey back home begins. The preacher or the teacher attracts the intelligence and the hearts of the souls by speaking about that all attractive Krishna, that all kind, that all merciful, that amazingly attractive Sri Krishna. And the manager, the poor manager, yes, the one who's taking all that pain to organize all of this and enable all of this service for the pleasure of Sri Krishna, is also performing Sankirtan. All service, every single service in the Krishna Consciousness Movement is Sankirtan, whether directly or indirectly, it is Sankirtan. Different services may be important at different times, but no one can say that one service is eternally more important than another service in the Krishna Consciousness Movement. So when somebody neglects one service at the cost of another service, that is not very beneficial for the movement. It's not beneficial for the souls. It's not super pleasurable to Krishna either. Srila Prabhupada gave us a very simple formula for spreading the Krishna Consciousness Movement. The Krishna Consciousness Movement consists of essentially three main things that we can use to spread the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Just three main things. Kirtan, not just any Kirtan. Actually, Kirtan actually only means Krishna Kirtan. Krishna philosophy, which is genuine, authorized, and completely free from all flaws or defects. And Krishna Prasada, beautiful, very delicious foodstuffs cooked lovingly for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. These three things are the basis of what Srila Prabhupada used to expand the Krishna Consciousness Movement. This is the seed of the Krishna Consciousness Movement, and this is how the Krishna Consciousness Movement is expanding. Just by these three things. However, all of these three things must be delivered in a very pure form, in an unadulterated form to the starving souls of this world in a manner that attracts them. With kirtan, with philosophy, and with prasad, the presenter has to take care to make sure that that offering is palatable to the tastes of the materially entangled souls who will appreciate that. It's extremely important for that. These are the three elements. If we can do these three things in any program, that program will be successful. Let's go now to book distribution, which is one of the elements here of spreading the Krishna Consciousness Movement, which is the philosophy. What is it? We know from reading the Bhagavad Gita that religion without philosophy is just sentimentalism. It's fanaticism. It's some kind of feeling and whimsical behavior. Oh, I feel this, I feel that, I feel blah. So religion without philosophy is actually useless. It just becomes some kind of a dogma. You know, there's this story of the teacher who had a pet cat, and every time the students came to learn from this teacher, the teacher would tie this pet cat on the, around, because the cat would jump around and make a lot of mischief, drop things and so on and so forth, jump on people's heads, do all kinds of things. So the teacher would tie up the cat to avoid disturbance of their meditation and their lessons. Gradually, the teacher got old teacher left his body. And then every time there was a program, the students would dutifully tie up the cat to the post. One day the cat also died. Now there was a big dilemma in the community, and said they began saying, well, we have to find a cat. We've got to get a cat. We cannot meditate without the cat. The cat has to be there in the corner tied up to that post. So in this way, religion without philosophy is sentimentalism. It's just fanaticism. It's just foolishness. And philosophy without religion, on the other hand, these big armchair philosophers with their cigars and their wines and so on, talking about philosophy without any discipline, without any purity, that is just pure mental speculation. It leads nowhere. It just goes around in circles and circles and circles, and people keep arguing and discussing and talking about stuff without following. Many times when Srila Prabhupada was asked, what about this? What about that? What about that? Srila Prabhupada would answer the person, if you like that philosophy so much, go ahead and follow it. Don't just talk about it. Go and follow it. Do it. Follow it. So philosophy without religion is also mental speculation. The authoritative books that we have access to provide that link to the parampara, that link which comes down from Lord Shri Krishna to Brahma, to Narada, to Vyasa, and so on and so forth, to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Srila Prabhupada, and all of our spiritual masters in the Krishna Consciousness Movement. They give us a link to that parampara. These books give us the perfect combination of the philosophy and the religious tradition that the philosophy is set in the context of. And the books are actually tangible service. The production of these books is tangible service. The distribution of these books is tangible service. The reading of these books to ourselves is tangible service also. But generally, why books? Okay, just because we're the Hare Krishnas and the Hare Krishnas always do books, right? No, it's a fact that the pen is mightier than the sword. Revolutions have been accomplished as a result of the book. The famous American Revolution is an example. There are so many other writings that are accomplished just by the books. Books survive all sorts of disasters. They survive flooding, they survive fires, they survive all sorts of other extermination attempts. And besides, we also happen to be the sampradaya of the books. Lord Brahma is shown with the Vedas. Sri Vyasadeva is the compiler of all the Vedic literature. Sri Madhvacharya wrote some amazing treatises. Rupa Goswami, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The list continues. Every single acharya in our tradition has produced copious volumes of literature. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally instructed Srila Rupa Goswami to write and distribute these books. And even when there was no printing press, our acharyas were painstakingly hand copying the books and distributing them. And there are lots of such materials out there. And this tradition continues. Many of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual descendants, his disciples, his grand disciples, are very expert in writing and publishing books, because books can change the course of the world. If we examine a soul's journey back home, back to Krishna, the soul is wandering around, up and down, Brahmande Brahmite Konam Bhagyavan Jiva, right? A Brahmahona Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. The scriptures abound with the miserable condition of the soul caught up in the material cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. But the journey of the soul back to Krishna starts with Adau Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sango, Tatha Bhajana Kriya, Tatho Anartha Nivritti Syat. What it means is that first somebody has some kind of faith. And because of that faith, they get association, they accept the association, the instruction from a sadhu, a saintly person. And then they begin their bhajana kriya, which means their practice of devotional service. And due to that, the destruction of all the inauspicious heaps of dirt accumulated in the hearts begins to get destroyed. We all know a common sadhu, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We all know enough that we know that everybody has some degree of faith. Somebody has faith in the OC Transpo, that when they put their fare into that box and they get on the bus will take them to their destination. Somebody has faith that when they put the car key in that ignition and turn it, the car will start. Somebody has faith that what they're pumping in the gas station is actually gas and not water. Right? Everybody has some kind of faith. People have faith in the doctor. The doctor prescribes some medicines, people religiously take it. The book distributor develops a personal relationship with every person that they meet, and they take that tiny little seed of faith that they have in that relationship, and that they increase it, and they use that faith to distribute a book to that person. The book further increases that faith, especially Srila Prabhupada's books. Anybody who starts reading them, even if they read 1 page or 2 pages, usually they can't put them down. You know, there's a story of a book distributor who distributed a book to a sailor, a cook actually, on a cruise ship. And then this book distributor distributed those books, and then that person came back when the cruise ship came around back to the same port. That man met the book distributor, and the book distributor said, "Did you read the book?" And the man was, "No, I haven't had a chance yet." So he let him go. Then he came back again. "Did you read the book?" And the man said, "No, I haven't read the book." And then he let him go. And the next time he met him, the cook on that cruise ship met this book distributor, and the book distributor, "Did you read the book?" He was really enthusiastic each time. This time, the cook thought, "Well, I've been saying no. Doesn't look good, really good on me. I've got the book months ago. I better say something to this guy." And he said, "Yeah, I read it. I read a little bit of it." And then the book distributor said, "And what do you think?" And he says, "Some parts of it are kind of okay." And he said, "You did not read the book," the book distributor said. "Because if somebody reads the book, they either hate it or they love it, but no one is indifferent to these books." So actually, Srila Prabhupada's books actually increase faith in either direction. They increase faith. Mostly they increase faith in the direction of Krishna's lotus feet. When somebody gets more faith, they get more service. That more service produces more faith. And this is a continuously, what is known as a virtuous cycle. It goes on and it increases and increases, and the person goes closer and closer and closer to Krishna's lotus feet. So this, by the way, this cook ended up as a pujari in one of our temples in the Eastern Europe. And I read one of his stories in a book distribution newsletter. He's a very wonderful devotee. And he started off lying that he had read Srila Prabhupada's book, which he eventually did. And then he got really attracted. Here are some more book distribution successes. You may know some of these devotees pictured here. I do not know anybody. I do not know everybody who has benefited from book distribution or started their Krishna conscious journey through book distribution. But some of them are Devamrita Swami, Vaisheshika Prabhu, the famous book distributor, Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu, who comes to Ottawa sometimes, Bhaktimarga Swami, who all of you know, and me too. I was attracted because somebody was kind enough to give me a book, even though I was completely undeserving of it. Many years ago, 20 plus years ago. Book distribution. Could we use some of these devotees? Could we use a few more of these Devamrita Swamis, some more Vaisheshika Prabhus, some more Bhaktimarga Swamis, some more Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu? Yes? If you have questions, by the way, please type them in the chat and we'll look at that. This is great. So you don't have to keep the question in your mind. Just open up the chat interface and type it out, and we'll take a look at it as soon as we can. Here are some recent experiences. In Toronto and in many other parts of the world, as you know, devotees are hamstrung by the lack of the ability to go out and knock on people's doors or meet people in markets and other busy places. So the devotees have taken up to calling. Devotees used to do telemarketing before, but now they've really gotten into it. And to inspire each other, they have created this way where all of them are on Zoom on mute and they can see each other calling and speaking. And their devotees are distributing dozens and dozens, even hundreds of sets, entire sets of Srila Prabhupada's books over the phone right now. This is happening right now. Every weekend, this is happening. I just saw, I happened to participate in last marathon. I met this young lady who was not interested in the books at that time, but we had a good conversation. She gave me her contact information and we both went on our way, and I kept in touch with her. And now she's in Nova Scotia. She was in Toronto, but now she's in Nova Scotia. And then I reached out to her and say, is there any way I can serve you? And she said, yes, actually, those books, can you get some to me? So we managed to get those out through Canada Post, and she has received them. She made a really good donation as well, all through Interact e-Transfer. There was a young student who was studying in Waterloo, and he asked for books and he asked for beads because he had read a little pamphlet about the Hare Krishnas and he wanted to know more about it. He's now chanting Hare Krishna in Waterloo. Several years ago, I met this young couple in Shawinigan. This was the first person I met, and I happened to speak their language, which was not French, fortunately, because I do not speak any Quebecois, French, or any of those beautiful languages. We have kept in touch, and she asked for books, Bhagavad Gitas, for her friends in French. So you can imagine that even though she has not officially joined the Hare Krishna movement, she's already distributing books, the Bhagavad Gita, to her friends in French, and they're probably having discussions on the Bhagavad Gita. So we shipped some of those recently. There was a Muslim family that I have known for years, and they lost their patriarch. And whatever their imam was saying to them, they couldn't buy it. They couldn't buy it that their father was no more. So they actually asked me, because they knew that I follow this thing where, they have some idea of reincarnation and so on. So they actually got this book, and the woman who lost her husband recently, is carefully reading the Coming Back and is asking questions based on that. So these are some very recent book distribution experiences. However, book distribution is not like a one-time thing. It's not just a sales thing, right? ISKCON Prabhu always mentions this, the 4 laws of book distribution. They're so important. They're practically laws, okay? You need to have strong sadhana. You need to chant your rounds. If you want to feel inspiration to spread the Krishna Consciousness Movement, you cannot be lax about your sadhana. Those who have strong sadhana always have that drive. You need to read. You need to distribute them to yourself. And the second thing is, no matter how strong your sadhana is, if you don't have the books on you, you can't distribute them. So get books from your local temple, from ISKCON Ottawa. Get books in English, in French. Ottawa is an especially beautiful place because you can distribute to all sorts of people. You can distribute books in Hindi, you can distribute books in Gujarati, you can distribute books in Punjabi, you can distribute books in almost so many languages, Arabic. Get those books because you can't distribute them if you don't have them. And then try your best to show those books to people. The more you show your books, even if you just sit on the subway, or the bus, and just open up the book and make sure people see the title of the book. Even if that's how you do it, the more you show those books, the more books you're going to distribute. Finally, if you want to really do this really well, you want to get organized. You need one of those manager types, to organize everything and make sure that the sadhana, the books, and the opportunities for showing those books are increased in an organized fashion. Book distribution needs to be part of every service, and it can be part of every service. It may seem awkward at first if you haven't done it before, but we need to start with distributing those books to ourselves. If we are not reading these books, Srila Prabhupada said, I have not written these books just for selling, right? Srila Prabhupada said, I have written these books for you. That means us, all of us. We need to distribute those books to ourselves. Read them regularly. Because if we don't read Srila Prabhupada's books, we are a disgrace to Srila Prabhupada. Whenever we go out on Harinam, we need to have book distribution. It's not that the Harinam party is distributing books, but you need to figure out somebody who's going to be doing that service of distributing books for the Harinam. Really strong and solid Harinams can be proven actually by how many books get distributed. If somebody is really chanting intensely, if somebody is really chanting sincerely, the book distributors can feel the force of that kirtan. I have this personal experience. Whenever a great kirtaniya, whenever a sincere kirtaniya is leading kirtan on the Harinam, books just fly out. I don't have to do anything. You know, the spiritual sound vibration created by the chanting, the beautiful pure chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This powers book distribution like anything. Prasadam distribution. If you are doing prasadam distribution, make sure there are books close by. Make sure that the books are somewhere close by. All sorts of classes. Devotees do all sorts of presentations. Make sure that you have books with you. Don't do a home program and don't send people without any books. Find ways to distribute books. Don't do public events without books. Don't do festivals without books. Have a focus, have an area, whether it's Janmashtami, whether it's Gaur Purnima, make sure that there's a book table and a person manning that book table whose sole service is to distribute those books. Ask people, because the more you show, the more you distribute those books. No program should actually happen without some reading from these books. So for example, in this class, I'll basically just read the translation of the second verse of the 4th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay. Srila Prabhupada writes in the translation, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Srila Prabhupada then goes on to talk about how authorized translations are very important and how this edition is authorized. And we can see it because it actually has caused transformation in countless lives. Organize monthly Sankirtan festivals. These are amazing fun. I know that right now you might not be able to do them, but very soon the lockdown will end. Very soon this coronavirus will be in the rearview mirror and we will be able to do this. Okay. This is just some of the ideas, but there is something even more important than book distribution. All around the world, Mother Lakshmi Muni actually pointed it out to us in one of the classes that I attended with her. She said, how many books have been distributed? And how many people have read them? And how many people actually understand them? And we went on this train of thought. And her point was that education is really, really, really important. Not enough just to spray those books and run away. If we look at the fastest growing religious traditions in the world, such as the Jehovah's Witnesses or Islam, the philosophy is really flaky, okay? We can beat it in like 10 minutes flat. Any debate and we can beat the philosophy. But even though we have such a strong and finely developed philosophical basis, even the Hare Krishnas, we have such a very strong philosophical basis, we must admit that it takes some time to appreciate the sublime nature of our tradition. Before that, it looks like, men wearing bed sheets, with clay on their foreheads, right? That's what it looks like to a new person who doesn't understand what Krishna consciousness is all about. It takes some time. People drop off in the meantime because of a lack of care. It takes a lot of care, a lot of nurturing, lot of follow-up. In one case, one woman who had given me her email address in 2011 or 2012, I don't remember exactly. She responded in December 2019 for the very first time. I had followed up with her from 2011 or 2012 all the way, and she's a librarian and she's offering the use of her library to conduct our program. So this is amazing, right? It's just not about book distribution. It's about building that trust. It takes some time. Every interaction that we have with any individual is an opportunity to serve. Whether somebody has been in the community for 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 1 decade, 4 decades, 5 decades, every interaction is an opportunity to serve. Paramahamsa Prabhu, your Paramahamsa Prabhu in Ottawa, he exemplifies this. He never lets a single interaction pass by without figuring out some way of serving that person. He's an amazing example of that, So Even more important than book distribution is the follow-up and the care that follows the book distribution. Don't distribute a book without getting a contact back. You're not distributing a book. You're actually taking that soul all the way back home to Godhead. You have to stay with them, okay? Here are some results of book distribution efforts. We are not result focused. The results belong to Krishna, but still, here are some results. Book distribution is actually very high sadhana. When people tell you on the road, hey, go get a job, man. Huh? That really, you have to cultivate some humility. You can't get into a fight on the street, you know, when somebody says something about your bedsheet, right? Right? It's very high sadhana because all the trinadapi suni chena taro riva sahishnuna qualities are developed out there on the street in book distribution. Not in the temple when everybody is calling you Prabhu and Mataji. That's not where it develops. It develops out there on the street where people are calling you an idiot, right? Telling you to get out of their face and being really nasty sometimes. But you also meet some really beautiful souls, and the beautiful souls actually outnumber the nasty souls. But the nasty souls are the ones that build your book distribution muscles, right? The more we try to distribute books, you will find, as I have, the better our chanting becomes. Our chanting becomes really intense. You know, you're really praying to Shri Krishna. And the better we chant, the more you will want to distribute. The more we want to distribute. It's a fact. By Srila Prabhupada's personal words, the words of his disciples, the words of his grand disciples, Srila Prabhupada is pleased with our efforts. He doesn't care really about the results. I mean, he's beyond all of this stuff. Like what is he going to gain if you distribute 20 Bhagavad Gitas, right? He's happy that Krishna is getting those 20 souls back very soon. And he's very happy because he's a personal confidential servitor of Srimati Radharani, and he will bless us. If we distribute these books, we will stay at the forefront of the collective consciousness. In order to effect a change in the world, we need to remain visible. We can't basically slip into the woodworks and hide away from public view. We need to be visible. We need to be visible in those dhotis and those kurtas and those saris and those beautiful clothes and all of our prasadam and all of our quirks and whatever you have it, we need to be visible. But we can only be visible if we are out there, winning the share of the people's collective consciousness. And we ensure that when these books are distributed in wide numbers, that our movement will not be diluted down by somebody who says, the regulative principles are optional, and so on. If we do not preach, however, if we do not distribute these books, if we do not find ways to engage in Harinam Sankirtan, then we will lose our enthusiasm for pursuing Krishna consciousness. Everything becomes stale and boring. We become envious of others and we get into fights. We start finding fault with each other because we have nothing better to do. We will not progress in Krishna consciousness if we don't try to give it. It's a fact that when you have wealth and when you don't use it for the benefit of others, then you actually become envious of others. You become miserly. It's a fact. We see people all around. It's the same thing with knowledge. All the knowledge that we have is meant to be distributed and given away. You don't have to wait until you're perfect. I don't know most of the things about Krishna consciousness. I know a few little things. But even I, who know so little, need to actually distribute that wealth of knowledge to others. Otherwise, I will become stale. I need to remain like a flowing river. Knowledge coming in, knowledge going out, constantly. Right? We will not progress. We have to remember, and this is really profound. Srila Prabhupada does not write these exact words in his books, but this is clear from reading his books, that he says that real violence means not awakening someone to their spiritual potential, not making an effort. So in other words, every soul we let pass by without trying to share Krishna consciousness with them is a person that we willingly have sent to their death. It's a most powerful thing when you experience that, when you see all these souls passing by. I'm not doing anything to say this one. But when you try, at least you have tried. So it's really, really important that these souls trapped up in the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease are somehow or the other taken out of that cycle. Change their trajectory. You know, right now, the timing is right. Many years ago, In 2009, when the financial crisis, the previous financial crisis hit, Devamrita Swami Maharaj was giving a class in Bhakti Lounge in Toronto, and he said, the timing is right, right? Now is the time to attack the world, not the world, attack the material consciousness of the world and replace it and try our best to get Krishna consciousness into many. And we did succeed in that effort by a big margin. Even now, the timing is right. We're in the mid of at least 2 crises, if not 3 or 4 or more, right? What is top of mind is COVID-19. Everybody's afraid of the coronavirus. Everybody's worried about the impact it has on the economy. Everybody's thinking, are we treating the earth right? Is this Earth's way of getting back at us? They're talking about, they're open to all of these ideas. People are also concerned with racism and violence. People have found systemic racism. I mean, like we didn't know that, right? Material consciousness is all about material consciousness. It's about finding differences, right? Spiritual consciousness is about finding unity in purpose. We need to be very careful not to waste this crisis. We need to keep it top of mind. We need to work on the consciousness and push it so that actually all of these souls who are reading the newspapers, looking at the tallies, so many died here and so many affected there and all of that stuff, so many lost their jobs here. We need to figure out a way to call them, email them, find a good way to get those books out, because these books will quite literally save this world. If we push forward the Krishna Consciousness Movement, this is our family business, right? Our family business as inheritors of Srila Prabhupada's wealth. Our family business is to increase that wealth, isn't it? Isn't it? If your father gave you a business, you would increase that business. At minimum, you would maintain it, but if you're a reasonable heir to that fortune, you would actually strive to increase it. Srila Prabhupada has bequeathed this fortune to us. This Krishna Consciousness Movement is ours to spread all over the world. If we do our best, Krishna will surely help. And this is my presentation to you today. If you have any questions or comments or criticisms or doubts, please let me know. And we will, if we have any questions from the chat, does anybody want to speak out their questions? Feel free to do so.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for that nice presentation on book distribution. It's so nice and encouraging. I just had a question with regards to the calling parties that the devotees are doing during this lockdown Sankirtan marathon. Do you guys just call your friend circles, or do you have like a list from the temple of maybe previous contacts that you can reach out to? Because if you've already exhausted your friend circle, is that kind of the limit it's at, or how do you reach out to others?
Actually, it started with the friend circles. And those of us who have actually collected the contacts from previous book distribution efforts, we had hundreds and thousands of contacts that we hadn't reached out to. We were out there collecting these contacts, but not really following up. And we had contacts from Janmashtami from 2008. We had contacts from Janmashtami. I think we had contacts from like 20 years ago. We had contacts from 20 plus years ago. And the devotees started calling them and they were like, yeah, I remember. And you're calling me now for, oh, I'm sorry, sir. I mean, we really, we lost track and whatever. But start a conversation about this. And then people took books. People didn't just take books. They took sets, entire sets. And some of the devotees, some of the people that we called were so appreciative about the effort that the devotees were making. We told them, look, the Hare Krishna movement, we distribute books out on the street and we collect donations out on the street, but it's not about the donations, about the books and the knowledge. And we want to give this knowledge to everybody. And we are having trouble reaching people right now. So we are calling people. People are so appreciative of the effort that somebody gave a $1,000 donation just for the effort. They didn't take any books. They said, pass these books on. I have the whole set. Like our whole home has this set. But I love what you're doing. Thank you so much. Please continue to do that. And we were able to get these books out. There are people who are delivering books. Boys and girls who don't necessarily like putting themselves out there and distributing books, but they are out there delivering the books. They have cars and they're delivering those books. So yeah, it starts with the whole list. Like you'll be surprised how many of the congregation don't have a Srimad Bhagavatam. You'll be surprised how many of the congregation don't actually have a Chaitanya Charitamrita. You'll be surprised if you said, well, can you distribute 10 Bhagavad Gitas to your family and friends during this crisis? Do you want to distribute a few higher tastes to your friends? Because, this thing started by somebody eating bats, right? And a lot of people said, yeah, give me 25 of those, right? So don't underestimate the power of people that you already know. And then those people can actually point you to others. Yep, go back to your contacts.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
This is Krishna Dulal from Ottawa.
Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance.
Please accept my brothers. Have you ever tried doing any cold calling over the telephone?
Yeah, a lot of cold calling going on as well. We are finding Gujarati names.
How do you go about introducing? Could you run us maybe through an example of how you would go about cold calling somebody from the phone book? I mean, I love the idea. Gujarati names, people who have a connection with the Vedic tradition, right? And so that's a good start. So how would you go about, let's say, making a sale like this?
Well, when you're calling Indian people, you never try to distribute them a book, because especially my grandmother knows all of this stuff. And what are you telling me this? And when were you born anyways? Right. So what we do is we say, dear sir, we're calling from the Hare Krishna temple, and we're calling the community to connect with them and to ask for your help. And we say we are looking for donations for the Hare Krishna temple. And then they said, yep, put me down for $100. And then we say, well, as a token of our appreciation and gratitude, can we share this with you? And they say yes, and so we take down their address, and then the book is on its way.
That's awesome. Thank you, Prabhu. That's a great idea.
That's for Indians. But you'll be surprised how many contacts Sankirtan devotees have. If you go to brahmacharis who have been distributing books for a while, you will see that a lot of these contacts are actually untapped, because they have no time. They're just going from place to place distributing books. They have no time to follow up. And Vaisheshika Prabhu's idea around the calling parties was that he used to run a business that sold water filters. And he saw that many of his distributors had a reluctance in calling up customers. So, because they felt awkward about it. So he put all his distributors into a room, and he had all of them calling out simultaneously. And each person calling the other person was inspiring them to call and be enthusiastic. And they were actually teaching each other tricks on the phone, like as they were talking to their contacts. And that collective energy kind of manifested and increased the sales of the water filters that Vaisheshika Prabhu was selling prior to dedicating himself fully. I mean, he's always dedicated fully, but before he entered into his Vanaprastha ashram, I can say. At that point in time, so he decided to use this idea here. And essentially each person we make calling lists, and people try out a few scripts or whatever works, and then we share those. And then people can either listen in, right? And they can put themselves on mute and just listen in, or people can start trying to call, and you'll get 10 names to call, and try your best and see what happens. I have personally collected more than 2,000 contacts in the last several years. So I've been following up just with my own contact list. I have not actually gotten anything from the temple or from any other source. I was like, I'm out there distributing books, and I have these contacts, and in many cases it resulted in a great conversation. In some cases, it resulted in books being shipped out, like I said to you. In some cases, it just resulted in them actually reading the book now, right? Does that help, Prabhu?
Yes, thank you. And I really like, it really is what you're saying is it's actually what I've been doing even for our business this last week. We're calling students for online music lessons, and that's what we've been doing. And I do it usually with my brother-in-law, Krishna. And so he would do it for a bit on his own, and I would do it on my own. And we weren't getting such a big success, but then we put ourselves in the same room and started calling people for a week. And then the results were just like off the charts. We got people signed up to be doing things. So I can really see the relevance. This is why the devotees in Toronto are saying having a calling party, because it's not just that you do it at your home. There is an element of association that's there. And that, you're right, it gives the inspiration, and you build off of each other a little bit. So almost that might be almost like a suggestion that if we want to do calling parties, maybe it's a good idea to get together with one other devotee, right, or two other devotees, right, and have groups of two that just sit there and even take turns. They could be separate phones, it could be the same phone, but just take those turns to do it, right? Take the plunge.
That's great. So I mean, some of the things that are being done is that you say, okay, we're going to call for the next 15 minutes and then we're going to read. So then they have a party. They're actually reading from the Bhagavatam, or they're reading from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they're actually in these pastimes. When they're calling, they're in that mood. So some people can, like, personally, I like to, kind of follow my own pace and so on. But some people love it, like getting together and doing stuff in a group. It's like going out on Harinam Sankirtan. Like if one went out, I mean, it's no fun. But if 20 went out, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
So for maybe someone who is just getting started in book distribution, it might seem a little bit scary. What are some tips that maybe we could implement for, just even trying to, give someone a book, like not dependent on, I guess, getting a donation, or maybe, I don't know, you could share some.
Mandalam Prabhu, I mean, you don't have this issue. I've seen you distributing books, but yes, the first win on book distribution or any kind of Harinam Sankirtan is getting the party out the door, right? So Vaisheshika Prabhu says that if your Sankirtan party reaches the spot of your Sankirtan, and just touch the pavement with their feet, then they have accomplished the mission. They have reached the point, because just getting people out is hard. And so the first rule is just to get out there, and just with the intention that I'm going to try and distribute some books. Or if the mind says, no, you can't distribute books, what are you thinking about? You distributing books? Like what do you think you are? And then you say, well, okay, that's what Vaisheshika Prabhu does, and it works. Okay, I do that myself. Okay, we are not going to distribute any books. We're just going to go there with the books in my hand. Okay. And then the mind is like, and you're not going to show them to anybody? You said, nope, we're not going to show them to anybody. We're just going to go there and stand there with the books in our hand. Okay. That's what we're going to do. And you basically, once you're there, you're like, well, I'm here anyways. I might as well kind of show it to somebody, but generally speaking, when Srila Prabhupada's books were put up in bookstores, they didn't sell very well. And Srila Prabhupada was asked about this, and he said, oh, my devotees distribute my books. The books don't, they need the books are designed to increase our service. So therefore, the whole process is designed that it takes devotees to distribute the books, because the devotee then gets the benefit of distributing the book. But the fact is, once you go out there, Krishna will send somebody to take a book from you. And somebody will take a book from you who would otherwise not take a book from me, for example. And each and every person has this very special connection with a bunch of souls that no other person has, right? You attract somebody, like 20 people walking by, right? And they don't stop at the 5 book distributors they have met, like when we go out on Sankirtan festival, and they stop by me. Why? Why do they stop? And then they're like, I'm standing somewhere and 20 people walk by me and 4 of them stopped at the next book distributor. Why did they stop? Right? It's because they feel a certain connection with certain people. And each and every soul is designed to make that connection with some people and not with some other people. So we just go out there, and our goal is to give people what they can accept, only what they can accept. Some people, they can accept only a smile, and some people cannot even accept a smile. The moment you smile, they frown, right? They're like, and they cannot accept a smile. Some people can accept a smile. Some people can accept a wave, right? And they'll wave back. Some people can actually accept a book. And some people are actually fortunate enough to be able to give a donation. Because, Krishna doesn't need money, right? It's a privilege to be able to give Krishna some money, So when Krishna accepts, that means when somebody gives a donation, that means Krishna is extra merciful upon them. So there are ways, everybody, collecting money, especially if you have a congregation that is full of Indian people, it's really hard. Because we were in our childhood, we were kind of taught that we should all, never kind of ask for anything from anybody. And, there's all these cultural hang-ups that come with being raised in an Indian family. But generally speaking, we don't actually make it dependent on receiving a donation at all. And I have been out on book distribution, and I gave out like 6 Gitas for like 25 cents and 50 cents and so on. And somebody came along and gave me $200, right? And they took a perfection of yoga. They said, this is all I can read right now, but I really love what you're doing. So here, they emptied out their wallet. They gave me $200, right? And covered all the 6 Gitas and more, right? So when I started distributing books, at that particular point in time, I was actually unemployed, and my business had gone under. And well, not quite under, but I was not making any money from the business. And my wife actually bought me a box of Bhagavad Gitas, as that was my capital, my starting capital. And now I have there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. I have like probably about 25 cases of books in my basement right now, from where I'm speaking to you right now. And it's all from that one case of Bhagavad Gitas. And I have never made it a condition for anybody to pay me anything or to give me any particular amount of donation in order to give them a book. So if I have found out that if somebody is interested, then they will do their best. Sometimes they might actually not have any money, but they might send you money by email transfer. They might send you money by Interact. They might send you money by PayPal or whatever, at another time. Sometimes I've met people 4 years after I actually gave them a book. And then they were like, oh yeah, I remember you. I took a book from you, and I didn't have any money, but I really appreciate it. And I use that as an opportunity to distribute them more books, because somebody who has already taken one will take many more. And I just basically file them up with the books, and they're like, what can I give you? I say, whatever you want from your heart. And then they get. One woman went out to an ATM, and her ATM card only allowed her to withdraw $400. So she went twice, and she gave me $800 as a donation. Can you believe it? Like, this was many years ago on Marathon. Like, I'm like, for the next 10 days, I'm going to distribute books on your name, right? All the benefit will go to you. And she was happy about that, right? So I don't think that we should worry about money. Krishna is the master of the goddess of fortune. He's her husband. And if we simply strive to serve Krishna, the money will come to us. Of course, we should not be foolish and kind of give books to people who are frivolous about it, or who might throw it in a garbage bin and things like that. They have to give something, right? So they can give us their attention. That's the most valuable thing, actually, even more valuable than money. They can give us their attention. If they give us their attention, they speak to me for 10 minutes, right? That qualifies them to get a book. Even if it's a small book or big book, doesn't matter, whatever they feel like. And they won't take a book if they are not interested. They will not. You will find out when we know, like, you can have a pile of books, and if people are not interested in the content, they will not take the book. Especially in this day and age, when the printed word has become so widely available, people will not take a book just like that. They're not interested in it. And they can give us their contact information. They can give us a donation. They can perform some service for us, right? They can help us move boxes from here to there and get a small book in return for their service, right? They can do anything. Like, we can be very creative in regards to how we can distribute books. But the best thing and the main thing is going out there and putting yourself out there. Because if you don't put yourself out there, how will they get the book? You have all the books, right? They don't.
Jai, I just got an email from some of the devotees, and they said we just had some repair done on the furnace, and they just told me that they distributed one hardbound Bhagavad Gita to the furnace repairman, and he gave a donation for it.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah, this is amazing. Where was this? Who?
Just at the temple. So he came to repair the furnace at the temple or something. So they distributed a book to him while he was there. I think it was today, I guess.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Well, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns? Well, see, this is one thing. There's a couple of things. So I've been actually thinking about how we can organize that monthly Sankirtan festival. So as soon as this lockdown ends or lifts, or kind of people get a little bit more out there, we can go out there and we can try this model out. And you don't have to distribute books to be in that party. You can stand behind the book table. You can play kartals. You can sing. You can just watch. Doesn't matter. Just come out with us once, and you'll see how much fun it is. And you'll love to do it. And there are lots of people who have stood for years behind the table until they felt the inspiration to go out there in front of the table. So many, like 5-6 years, they've been behind the table, and all of a sudden they became a top book distributor, right? Because it's every single thing matters. You can volunteer to be a driver for the devotees, drive the books. You can volunteer to cook the prasad for that day, right? For the devotees, you can have a party at your home afterwards. They can all distribute books and then come to your home. And then they can sit around the circle and talk about their experiences. And you'll see how infectious that energy is of someone having done something for the Krishna Consciousness Movement out there. So it's a lot of fun. So if you're interested, we can organize that, and I'll be there, and we'll have a lot of fun together. Do we have any other things? Guru Prasad Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Are you here? Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So the last point you mentioned, I was about to ask a question on that, because there are people who are by nature, they are shy. They're not willing to talk to people because it's not in them. But what you suggested is, come there, just stand behind, be present, and at the book table, or be part of the kirtan. So I think eventually, I think they also get the feeling of doing something, because that association of devotees who are so inspired to talk to people, I think something happens, and they also eventually, get the feeling that, yeah, I can do this. So I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, actually what happened was one of the first times after the monthly Sankirtan festival had started in 2009, my spiritual master and Guru Mata had come into Toronto in October, I think it was at that time. And so my Guru Maharaj asked me, so what's going on today? And I said, well, they're doing some book distribution or something. And he looked at me up and down and he says, and why are you not there? And I said, well, I don't want to go and distribute books. I want to serve you. He says, I don't need your service. You go out there. Okay. And then I was still reluctant. And then my Guru Mata said, okay, I will go with you. And here is this little old lady, who and we went to Kensington Market in Toronto, and she was just hopping around, and I was worried she was going to get hit by a car. But just looking at her enthusiasm, I started approaching people, and I could see that was it. Like in 2009 is when I started distributing books, and it was a lot of fun. And I mean, I am not a shy person by many people's standards. But yes, I am. I mean, I'm a newcomer to Canada, especially when I still have an Indian accent, and I stick out. I'm different from most other people around. the Toronto is pretty multicultural. So it was hard, but now I have figured out, like, everybody is a spirit soul, whether you're distributing books in North America or South America or in Shawinigan, everybody is a spirit soul, and your enthusiasm for distributing the book matters. And I mean, you have to be convinced that it's worthwhile. Otherwise, I mean, you can only convince somebody to the extent that you're convinced. So if you're not convinced that these books are fantastic, then you should go and read them. And then you will be convinced that they are fantastic. And then you will want to distribute them.
Yes, that's right. Prabhupada said that we have to read the book first ourselves and get the knowledge deep into us so we can answer their questions. Some of them ask us relevant questions, and we should be able to respond to them very satisfactorily.
Well, that's another thing. If you cannot answer the question, then bring somebody else into the conversation at that point in time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you don't even have to be an expert. Like, you just snag somebody, you stop them somehow, and then they start asking you all these questions, and then bring somebody else into the conversation if you want to. But it's also a rule not to barge into somebody else's conversation. Like, if somebody is talking to somebody, then don't barge into the conversation. But if somebody invites you into the conversation, then go in there by all means. Because sometimes it's a very delicate thing that is happening. When the third person enters, the whole thing can be broken. So it's better not to, like, stay out of it until the Sankirtan devotee calls us in to it.
Sure, yes. He can also give us a clue on how to respond to that. We can wait and see what's going on, and later on he can give a good feedback.
Yeah, that's also true. Yes, that's also true. That's also true.
Probably also, maybe we should relevant to say that you mentioned in terms of sadhana, maybe you can elaborate a little bit, because I think it's one very significant thing. We are not there to.
Yeah. So what we are doing when we are going out on book distribution is we are sharing the overflow of Krishna consciousness in our hearts. And an overflow is created when we serve Sri Krishna. And when Krishna reciprocates with, Srila Prabhupada, I heard this from Kadamba Kanand Swami Maharaj, but Srila Prabhupada said this, that Krishna is someone, his father taught him, Gaur Mohan De taught Srila Prabhupada that Krishna is someone who has like 10 arms, and if he gives you something with those 10 arms, how much can you hold with your own little 2 arms? Two little hands, and Krishna has 10. What can you hold? It also applies when he starts taking stuff away from you. But in general, when we perform our sadhana, then Krishna reciprocates and he gives a lot. He gives a lot. He gives a lot. And then what are you going to do with all of that, right? So you want to give it out. So if we chant, if we rise early in the morning before sunrise, and if we chant our rounds with great attention to pleasing Guru and Krishna, then that alone is sufficient to cause an overflow every day. And then you don't know what to do. You're writing emails to random people, answering their questions and stuff like that. And that's the first thing. Then if you actually read Srila Prabhupada's books very prayerfully and attentively, Mother Lakshmi Moni is an expert in that, very attentively and carefully and prayerfully, not critically or not intellectually, but very prayerfully read those books. Then we can certainly develop even more overflow, and then we want to really do something. And then one fine day you get a chance to cook for the devotees, and then the devotees shower so much affection for having done that service, or you happen to clean the temple, and all of that stuff builds up, and then you have to give it to somebody. How much can you keep to yourself, right? So that's the overflow of the sadhana. Rise early, chant rounds, observe Mangalarti. If you cannot observe Mangalarti, at least chant rounds early in the morning before sunrise. Take only Krishna Prasad. You're literally eating the consciousness of the person preparing the food. And if the person preparing your food is not inclined to serve Krishna, then that inclination will not manifest in your own heart as well. So if you're eating out, takeout or, other restaurants that are not run by devotees, then even though the food might taste nice to the tongue, it will have a detrimental effect on the consciousness. And so be very careful what you eat. Gopal Krishna Maharaj said, if you have to eat something outside, then eat food that is not cooked or it does not contain grains, because grains have the capacity of transmitting consciousness. So yes, so that is the elements of good sadhana. But just the attempt for good sadhana itself has a positive effect. Even if, I mean, my sadhana is not that great, it could always be better, but it's enough to create that overflow that I want to share it with somebody. I don't want to keep it. I want to give it to somebody.
I think you touched on this, but again, there's a question which is sent to me. How we can follow up the person we distribute book to, earlier.
How can we follow up with a person that we distribute a book to?
Yeah.
So when we distribute a book, there's a mental checklist that we have, right? So you distribute a book, you see if they are capable of giving a donation. If they are capable of giving a donation, then collect the donation. After that, are they capable of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Maybe yes. So you basically give them a mantra card and say, repeat after me. Do you believe in the power of prayer? They usually say yes. And say, okay, this is an ancient language called Sanskrit, but it's very, very powerful and it's completely non-sectarian. It's a prayer of love. Here, repeat after me 2 words at a time. Don't give them too much time to think, because sometimes the mind can get in there and destroy the whole thing. And say Hare Krishna, and then they say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Great. Now do it 4 words at a time. Hare Krishna, right? And then they repeat Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then say, you are a pro. Let's do this once more. Okay, together. 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here's your card. Say this at least 10 times every day, and you will experience great good fortune. My dear sir, or my dear friend, or whatever, Bill or Cindy, whatever their name might be, would you like to stay in touch with me in case you have any questions? I don't do this for money, but if you have any questions, you can ask me. If anything comes up in the book that you don't like or you cannot agree with, or you feel like you want to discuss with somebody, I'm there, right? And I will invite you to these amazing events that we have, musical events. We have events outdoors. We have these amazing events few times. I will not spam you. I'm so disorganized that I barely remember to tell my wife, about something that she needs to know. So I will not spam you. So, and I take down their email. I don't take down their email with paper and pen. I always use a phone to get an email. So I send them a blank email right then and there that says, hey Bill, this is Das. We met here. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your book. Do you have any questions? Leave with a question mark, because a question mark elicits a response back. And yeah, that's it. So you can get their email or you can get their phone number. Everybody may not be able to do the follow-up. You can say, one of my friends will, like if you're a girl and you don't want to give your phone number to random strangers on the street, you can give that phone number to Krishna Prabhu. He would happily follow up for you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Prabhu,
So,
you have given many very, very relevant and practical tips, and obviously you have been doing it for, as you said, from 2009, so definitely over a decade. So no doubt that you have experienced many. Are there any situations about awkward, and how did you handle a kind of awkward situation when you are trying to distribute and someone comes by and then distract the other person whom you are talking to?
Can you give me more of an example, Prabhu?
When you are in discussion with a particular person whom you just met, and you are having a discussion, some of his buddy comes by, a friend, or maybe they go to the same fitness club, whatever it is. So they started talking to him as you are discussing with them.
Yeah, that's a difficult situation, Prabhu. There's not much you can do about it. because that friend has a more trusted relationship with that person than you have. So what I do is, there are several little things that I might do. I say to the other person, can you give me like 5 minutes with your friend? I know that this is very valuable to you, that you're getting some time with your friend right now, but can you give me just 5 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it is, 30 seconds to talk with him briefly? And I do my best to maybe get their contact information so that I can follow up with them offline, or I just give them a book anyways and say, you know what, I think that you really need to have this, and I really think that you would benefit from this. And not only would you benefit from this, I think that by using the knowledge that's inside this book, you're going to benefit the whole world. So from my heart, I believe that you should have it. And you try not to get into a discussion. You try not, our goal is not to get into any kind of fights or arguments. We avoid them at all costs. In the early days, I got into a lot of arguments, and it just saps your energy, and then you don't feel like continuing that anymore. So you somehow figure out a way. The first rule of dealing with any fanatics or any crazy people is don't deal with them. Figure out a way to let them pass, let them go by. It's like a storm, right? When you're in a storm, you don't stand like this and take the storm on your chest, right? You go hide in your basement, right, until the storm has passed, and then you come out, right? So if a storm comes, we don't try to be heroes. We don't
Have
try.
you tried ever giving your own number? Is it something practical to do that, or
What's that, Prabhu?
giving your contact info for the other person? Have you ever
No, I
done
don't know. As Lakshmi Moni Mataji always says, especially about Srila Prabhupada's instructions, without context, it is impossible to see what the discussion is about. So
Okay.
context is very important. And if I'm not there, I might not have the context. But you don't need me. I might screw up the whole thing because I don't understand where that person is coming from. And I think that there are lots of very amazing devotees in the Ottawa community that are more than competent and capable of answering any questions. And I don't think that, Prabhu, I don't think that there should be any difficulty at all in that regard.
Very good, Prabhu. Thank you very much for your participation in our Sunday program and giving all of your experience, really so readily sharing. And we hope that we'll be able to have you in person here as to initiate our monthly Sankirtan.
Thank you very much. I look forward to, hopefully we should have something for Vaishnava Sangha this year, even if it's not the full program, whatever we can manage, because it's really something that I have become addicted to. Thanks to Paramahamsa Prabhu and Krishna Dulal Prabhu and Mandal Ram and all the devotees there, and Surendra Prabhu and Mataji and the whole crew. I'm just totally addicted to the Vaishnava Sangha. So we need to figure out a way to have it. And I'm addicted to those Shavinigan Harinams. So please figure out a way to make something happen.
I'm glad you mentioned, because I have, during our conversation earlier, arranging program, he expressed the same desire. So I passed it on to Krishna Prabhu, and I'm glad that you yourself spoken about it. So they know that, I heard it from you. So you made it a point. Yes, we will work on that. We'll try to see that we'll have some program.
Thank you. Even if we have to make some adjustments or whatever we have to do.
Yeah. I think we can have a little bit of a brainstorm on that. Maybe we'll include you on that. Actually, one of the calls, we will try to do that. Prabhuji, I need to wrap it up for a couple of reasons. One is it's already 7 o'clock our time, and also the camera battery is going to run out soon. So,
thank you very much. Ottawa Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ottawa Yatra ki jai. Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki jai. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sankirtan ki jai. Good distribution program ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu, for your once again, and on behalf of our community, once again. So we'll be in touch.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. See you.
Thank
My
you.
love to your, no, my love to Vitala Bhakta. Tell him that you spoke to me too. Oh, there he is. So I had to speak to him sometime later on.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
I'm going to talk to you, Vital.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hari Bol.